Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here to talk about this Kevin Surratt Sr. interview that was done with Sherelle's World. The Braxtons, we back here talking about the Braxtons, y'all, because we want to talk about 25 years of hate. 25 years of hate. We know this family know how to hold a grudge. We really do know this family know how to hold a grudge because Miss Evelyn been mad at Mr. Braxton for at least 40 years. At least 40. We know that this family knows how to hold a grudge. And Kevin Surratt Sr., welcome to the family. If you didn't know it by now, this grudge is going back 25 years, y'all. Is it worth it? Is this grudge they got worth 25 years? We done found out this don't have nothing really to do with whether or not Kevin Surratt Jr. held a funeral, didn't hold a funeral. This is going way back. You ever have a person who's been mad at you a long time and it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to have a problem with you. No matter. It's not even really about the moment in time. What it's really about is what happened a long time ago. You could be doing is tying your shoes, and they could come up to you and tell you, you ain't tying your shoes right. You in their way, get out their way. And you think all this over tying some shoes? You say, this don't make no sense. All over tying some shoes? No, it ain't over tying no shoes. It's going back 25 years when you did something to that person 25 years ago. We over here watching Love and Marriage Detroit. We got a girl on here mad for darn near 11 years because of an iPhone joke, an Android joke 10 years ago. Let me tell you something. When you hold a grudge this long, you really not getting back at the person you mad at. You really making yourself look silly. And now I really have a better understanding, y'all, a better understanding of why these people, and when I say these people, the Braxton sisters look so silly. But before we go on, I want to let y'all know the chat is open. This is going to be a premiere video. A premiere video means when the video is running for the very first time, the first hour, whatever how long the video is, the live chat will be open for you guys to drop your comments down in the live chat. I'm going to be starting to read those as well. Also, you can put your chat down in the regular chat as well. I'm going to try to do this every day. Well, I don't do a video every day, but every time I drop a video, I'm going to allow the live chat to be open. So be sure to subscribe to my channel, like it, subscribe to it so you get the alerts when the live premiere video is going to go live. And to all my channel members, thank you so much for supporting me over these last months and years. Some of you have been supporting me for over a year. I appreciate that. I'm going to need y'all down in some of these live chats to be my moderators. So I'm going to be making my channel members, after they've been a channel member for a while, I'm going to be making them my moderators so they could keep some of y'all honest down there in the chat. Some of y'all be cutting up. So I'm going to need my moderators to come up and show up sometimes to help a sister out. Because all y'all know that been with me. I know I got a lot of new channel members. Thank you. But for all you new people, I got a job. I got a full-time job. And I'm an engineering manager, so I can't be at work watching no videos all the time. I can do it around lunchtime, but shoot, I be in teams meetings all day, y'all, all day long. So, but this is going to be the way, I'm here on the West Coast. So with the timing and everything, it's really hard for me to do lives like a lot of other YouTube bloggers. By the time I get home, eat dinner, spend some time with my husband, shoot, y'all probably in bed on the East Coast. I know I'm tired. I really don't want to talk. Any of you like me when you get home from work, you don't feel like talking? Not too much. But anyway, enough about me, enough about the housekeeping. Let's get into this video about recap of this interview with Kevin Surratt Sr. at Sherelle's World. If you haven't watched the video of the interview, you can go on over there and watch it on her channel. She's a pretty popular YouTuber. But you know what? It cleared up for me. It wasn't a long interview, only about, 50 minutes or so. But it did just enough for me. I got more questions, but you know what? Kevin Surratt Sr. might want to do I think I would find this Braxton's family story interesting if told through a different set of eyes. Not the eyes that the Braxton sisters have wanted to tell their story. Because once I had heard Kevin Surratt Sr., and let me tell you, he was very gracious. He was not there to put the family down or anything. One thing you can tell is he has been part of this family for 25 years. And what he knows how to do is not bash the family. That's one thing he knows how to do. And I really applaud him for that. He knows not to bash the family, because there's a lot of things that Kevin Surratt Sr. probably can say about this family that he hasn't said and he wouldn't say, because I don't think that he even wants to dishonor his own wife in that way. So I really applaud him on that. But let me tell you, I got some questions answered. I sure did, because I knew for sure that why are these people going through this much trouble to sully and drag this man's name through the mud? What has he done to them so horribly that they're here 25 years here and doing this? So first of all, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a grudge from 25 years. They never really liked Kevin Surratt Sr. from the beginning. It was nothing that I think he really did. I really don't believe so. I know some of you are going to say, well, because he cheated on Tracy. He did. He admitted he cheated on Tracy. And then Tracy also admitted that, when she got revenge, cheat back on him. He did it first. I get it. But we're going to find out a lot of things that happened. So first of all, I like to, because I had never really looked up the whole biography of Tracy. But we find out that Tracy and Kevin met in 1993. Because I want y'all to keep track of these dates, because the dates are very important. The dates point out to you why the grudge started. Okay, that's why these dates are important. They were never really that important to me before, but in listening to Kevin Sr., these dates became very important, because Kevin and Tracy met in 1993. That's when they met. They met working at the same place. They both were into this sort of home health care system. I think Kevin retired from the VA system, so he must care for wounded veterans or veterans that get care in their homes, or I don't know, at a facility. Maybe it's at a facility. But they both were in this line of work back in 93, and Kevin continued in this same line of work. Now, what you got to remember, y'all, is what was popping off in 1993. What was popping off in 1993 was Toni Braxton was making it big. Toni Braxton was making it big. That's when she came out with that whole hit album with LaFace, Babyface, Kenny Babyface Edmonds. Breathe Again, 1993. So imagine this. You are the sister of Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton has just made it big. Breathe Again, one of the biggest albums out there. You working at a care facility. You, Tracy, you working at a care facility, and you like, yeah, Tracy Braxton's my sister. Next thing you know, she and Kevin are kind of hanging out, getting to know each other, really liking each other, this and that. Tracy then says, I met a man at work. She comes home to her family of Toni Braxton being a famous singer now. And she met Kevin Surratt at this nursing care facility or home health care facility, whatever you want to call it. And they're like, oh, Tracy, this is what I think. This is my opinion. I know a lot of y'all get down in my comments and tell me what I don't know and tell me to stop saying things. Listen, get your own YouTube channel. I come here to talk to people about what I think. That's what I come here to do. You don't have to agree with me. That I don't have no problem with. I love reading people's different opinions, but I do get to say what I think. None of what I say has to be the complete truth, because you're right. I don't know the complete truth, but this channel is about me telling y'all what I think. And guess what? I could be wrong, because you know what? I'm wrong a lot of times, and ain't nothing wrong with it. This ain't no different than me sitting at a table with a bunch of girlfriends or a bunch of people over my house and talking about what I think. And guess what? A lot of times I could be dead wrong. Ain't no problem with it. But what I think right now in this moment, what I think is that you Toni Braxton, you the Braxton family, you just had a hit record with Toni Braxton. Tracy meets Kevin Surratt at this nursing care facility, brings him home, Tamar, this my new man. They like, oh no, he ain't good enough for you. He not good enough for you. He's clout chasing. He only want to be with you, Tracy, because you Toni Braxton's sister. Because remember this. Kevin Surratt already has been married before. So now you got Tracy, a young woman. Was she at this time? 25, 26 years old? A young woman, no kids. She done met a man who don't have a whole lot of money, been married before, and already got a baby. And this is the man she's bringing home to the Braxton family with the Braxton family values. They don't like him. He ain't good enough. I know what they're telling her. He's using you. He's clout chasing. He only wants to be with you because you're Tracy Braxton's sister, and he knows that you may hit it big too. Because remember, prior to this, in 1989, they all were together as a group. Tony, Tamar, Trina, Tawana, all of them was in one big group. And then that's when they released that song. I'm trying to get my dates together, y'all. I'm trying to get my dates. They signed a contract as a group in 1989, all of them, even Tracy. They released a song in 1990, all of them, even Tracy. It wasn't no big hit. It wasn't no big hit. But what happened was, that's when Babyface and them saw Tony. It was like, ooh, she could be a star, right? They saw that song in 1990. They came and they signed Tony to her own individual contract in 1991. Then she released this big old album in 93. That's the timeline. 93 is when Tracy met Kevin Surratt Sr. as well. So what were they thinking when she brought him in? Oh, he's a buster. He's here for clout chasing. He ain't got no money. He got a low wage job. He doing this. Plus he's married and divorced and he got a baby. He ain't good enough for you, Tracy. He's not good enough for you. But what did Tracy do in this moment? Guess what she did? She chose Kevin. She chose Kevin. She didn't listen to her sisters. She still got with Kevin. She sure did. She got with him. She chose him. We here talking today about this will. And even in this will, those sisters wanted to keep saying that Tracy didn't love Kevin Surratt Kevin Surratt Sr. And that's why she didn't leave him nothing in the will. Because what they're trying to paint this picture of is she didn't really love him. Well, guess what? She did love him because she did leave him something in that will. And this is what I think the grudge is with these sisters. Tracy always chose Kevin Sr. She always chose her family. She always chose her marriage. And this is completely different than the decisions the sisters make. Think about all these decisions Tracy had to make along the way. Does she choose the Braxton family or does she choose her own family, which then becomes Kevin Sr. and then Kevin Jr.? And along the way, what Tracy did different than her sisters was she chose her own family, which is her husband and her child. She didn't choose the sisters. Now, we go back now. Remember, Tracy's a star. Tony's a star in 1993. She's got Breathe Again. She's got this big old album. The group is disbanded because Tony's a solo now. Now you just have these other young ladies together. And they get a chance to sign a contract. Now we get back to this whole contract thing. They get ready to sign a contract. Tamar, Trina, Tony, Tawanda. Tony's off on her own. She's a star. Well, come to find out, Kevin says during that time, he remembers dropping Tracy off at the house or wherever they were going to be so they could negotiate the contract. She was going to sign a big record contract. The four of them, all four of them together in the living room, probably of the parents' house. Tracy shows up. At this time, guess what they find out? Tracy's pregnant. Tracy's name is on the contract. All of their names are on the contract. Tracy's name's on the contract. Tracy drops a bomb. I'm pregnant with Kevin's baby. Tracy has a decision to make in that moment. She could sign this contract, but to sign this contract, she can't be pregnant. Well, how do you become unpregnant? How do you become unpregnant? You are pregnant. How do you become unpregnant? Tracy's got a decision to make. She could become unpregnant or she could sign this contract. You see, Tawanda made a big deal about we didn't leave Tracy. If y'all remember, Tawanda had a big old speech this season. We didn't leave Tracy. Everybody says we left Tracy. We abandoned Tracy. We didn't abandon Tracy. This is what Tawanda's saying. She feels like this is the biggest misnomer out there. Really what she's saying is we didn't leave Tracy. Tracy left us. She's spinning the story. What she's saying is Tracy could have signed. Tracy could have signed along with all of us just like we did. No one told Tracy she couldn't sign. What we told Tracy is you can't sign and be pregnant at the same time. That's what they told her. So what does Tracy now have to decide? Do I want to sign or do I want to be unpregnant? And you know what Tracy decided in that moment? She said, because you made me decide on these two things in a lot of ways, even if they didn't tell her that directly. Like I said, this is my opinion. This ain't no fact. Even if they didn't tell her that directly, because I'm sure no one might have said that to her directly, it's inherent into her decision. If you're pregnant and someone tells you you only can sign if you're not pregnant, they don't have to tell you what your choice is. You smart enough to know you only got two choices. Tracy knew what her two choices were. She wasn't even married to Kevin Sr. at this time, but she was pregnant with his baby because Kevin Jr. wasn't even born in 96. Now remember, they met in 93. Kevin Jr. was born in 96. Kevin Sr. says they got married in 96, the same year Kevin Jr. was born, which means Tracy was pregnant prior to marriage. And she had a decision to make. And the decision that she made in that moment was, no, I just won't sign the contract because I'm not going to become unpregnant. So once again, in a critical moment of a decision to make, she chose her husband and her child. And you know what I think that started? That started the grudge. Because here we now have Tracy, who has chosen someone outside of the family. One thing we know about these Braxtons is they like to pretend they thick as thieves. They demand allegiance. They demand it. This is what Evelyn has done with her daughters. They demand allegiance to the women of the family. To hell with the men of the family. You see, when Evelyn and that husband broke up, Evelyn demanded allegiance from the girls. You with me now, girls. When I break up with this man, you coming with me. If you don't come with me, there's going to be a problem. And the girls went with Evelyn, Miss Evelyn. But guess who didn't all the way go with Miss Evelyn? Tracy again. So when it came time to choose the music career over family, what did Tracy choose again? Tracy chose family. The sisters went this way. Tracy went that way on more than one occasion. We can even go back to present day, when they had that strike. The sisters went this way and went on strike. Which way did Tracy go? This way. You see, this is what I think started the real hate for Kevin Sr. and the meanness towards Tracy. When Tracy said she felt like an outcast, the sisters made her feel like an outcast because Tracy would make decisions that were beneficial to her. And these other sisters were willing to give up things in their lives that Tracy wasn't. Now, you remember when these girls were going on the road chasing Toni Braxton as background singers, Tawanda, Trina, okay? I don't remember when Tawanda had her babies, but Trina definitely had kids. Who was keeping their kids? Trina's husband, Gabe, was keeping her kids because that first husband who she had the babies with, I guess he turned out to be a deadbeat. Then Tawanda, when she was on the road, guess who was keeping her kids? Her husband, Andre. So when you look at these ladies, there's a pattern. there is a pattern. Their allegiance completely is to the mother and Tony and that musical career. That is where their allegiance goes. To hell with anybody else or anything else. That is where their allegiance goes. And what they're willing to do is to leave their kids behind and have their kids raised by the dads, right? So they could chase the musical career. And they're willing that if ever there becomes a disagreement between the sisters and the husbands, you choose the sisters. You see, if y'all remember that famous scene why Tracy was so mad when they had that little get up at the winery, and at this time now we are 25 years later, all of a sudden Tawanda wants to bring in Sean and Trina wants to bring in Vaughn to be inserting themselves into the family and giving advice and telling the family what to do. And what Tracy's so poignantly pointed out is, wait a minute, since when have you guys been open to the idea of a man coming into our family telling us what to do? Because for 25 years, you've been mad at me, telling me I need to keep Kevin Sr. out our mess. You see, think about it. For 20 years, they were mad at Tracy for Kevin Sr. even having a voice in her life. They didn't want him to have a voice in her life at all. What they expected for Tracy was to have complete allegiance to them. And they did not like the intrusion of Kevin Sr. Even if he wasn't really vocal about it, which he says he was, they didn't like the intrusion of him. They spent 25 years icing him out. So Tracy here in 5 years ago, imagine the hurt, the pain, the disgust that for 20 something years, you have told me to keep Kevin Sr. out of our mess. And now, Tawanda, you've been with this man for 1 year. He's all up in here in our mess. Trina, you only been with this man a couple of years at that time, and he's all up here in our mess. But you didn't want my husband to have any say-so in our life all these times. Tracy was fed up with the bullshit, the hypocrisy, and the contradiction. I'm starting to see how this story really took place. And now you understand how we hear with all this kerfuffle over this will, over Tracy's wishes, because this don't have nothing to do with the here and now. This goes back once again to because they never could control Tracy. They never could make Tracy do what they wanted Tracy to do. Here in her death, they were trying to control her funeral. Once again, they didn't want Kevin Sr. having any influence whatsoever over what would happen to Tracy even in her death, because they were upset for 25 years that Tracy continuously chose her husband and her child over them. And here we are in her death, and she still chose her husband and her child over them. Those sisters were nowhere in that will. The only two people in that will was the senior and the junior. She didn't choose them again, so they're still hotter than fish grease. So what do? They make this Braxton's family values. The Braxtons come back, and what do again? They bash Tracy one last time for not choosing them. That's what this show is about. It's one last get back. They can say whatever they want that this show is about honoring Tracy. No, it's not. It is a get back TV show. It is a get back, because you don't make no TV show when you're trying to honor someone. You're showing the son in the worst light possible. You're talking about the husband horribly, and you making yourself look good. This is a get back show, y'all. This is a get back show. One more time for Tracy choosing her husband and her son over these sisters. And you know what made them even worse? They was mad at Tracy from the very beginning of even getting with Kevin Sr. Mad at him. He's broke. He's a gold digger. He's a clout chaser. You know everything they were saying. He's only here for these things. It ain't gonna last. He's not here for that. He's trapping you. He's getting you pregnant. And guess what? Kevin Sr. was the only husband that stuck around for 25 years. All their husbands is gone. So what they talked about Kevin Sr. and Tracy didn't even come out to be the truth. They predicted calamity. They predicted a catastrophe. They predicted a marriage that was going to end in divorce. And guess what? This marriage lasts until death do us part. They really hot now. Not only are they hot that Tracy chose her family over them, they're even more hot because it lasted. It lasted. It lasted. And now Tracy got grandkids. Tracy ended up having the life they wish they had. This is what this grudge is over. This is what this 25 year of hate is about, is because they never experienced this. None of them ever experienced love that has endured for 25 years. None of them have ever endured someone choosing them this much at all. Being accepted for who you are to this level. Tawanda sitting over here talking about the man she with hadn't even seen her hair for the first 3 years that they was together. She don't have complete acceptance. Tamar talk about she don't have complete acceptance. Tracy had a lot that these ladies didn't have. They were mad about a lot, but what they were really mad at was that Tracy she chose her family over them. From the time Tracy was young and met Kevin Sr. till she died, she chose her family and she chose her son. And let me tell you something. She chose him again because we know Tracy had Kevin Jr. in 1996. Then she actually did go on the road. Tracy had him, and guess what happened? Kevin Sr. kept the baby. Kevin Sr. fell in line like all the other husbands, keeping babies while the ladies are on the road. But you know what happened to Tracy? Tracy missed her baby. Tracy wanted her baby to come on the road with her, and guess what they said? Nah, you can't do that, Tracy. You can't bring your child on the road with us. That's not going to work. Trina leaving her kids at home. Tracy, you're going to have to leave your kids at home. Guess what happened? Tracy said, nah, I don't want to do it. I'm going back home. Tracy left. She went back home to her child to raise her own child, not to have her child raised simply by the father while she was on the road chasing fame. So once again, what did Tracy do? Leave the sisters. Leave the sisters. Trina was willing to leave her sons at the time, I don't know how many she had, with a husband, with Gabe. By, later on in the career, we know that Tawanda married a whole man so that he could take care of her children. That's why she was happy to have Andre as a husband in the beginning, because Andre was home taking care of the kids. But if y'all think about it, I don't have the exact dates right. When did Trina and Tawanda get rid of Gabe, and when did Tawanda get rid of Andre? Ironically, I think it was probably around the time, within a year or two, of when they stopped doing the touring with Tony. Because at some point in time, they stopped touring with Tony too, in the 2000s somewhere. And I bet it's around the time they decided, guess what, Gabe and Andre, I don't need you no more. Because I was with you so you could take care of my kids so I could travel the world with Tony. But now that I'm not a background singer no more, Tamar is going to go off and do her own record album. We not background. We unemployed background singers anymore. Now that we're home off the road, we don't need you no more. So we're going to go ahead and divorce you guys. I bet that's when the problem started in the marriage, once they came home. Because once they came home, both Trina and Tawanda said, we don't need these men no more. We don't have to put up with nothing from them no more. We don't have to do nothing from them anymore because we don't need them to take care of these kids no more because we back home. You see, Tawanda and Trina, who's now freaking frack on this show, let their sons get raised by their husbands for a long time while they was on the road. But once they got home off the road and they decided they're not going on the road no more, guess what they said? Husbands, we don't need you. See, Tawanda and Tracy chose their careers over their family. Tracy chose her family over her career. Later on, Tracy had a chance at her career. That's why everyone was happy she got her chance. Because once her child grew up, she had a chance to go back and she had a chance to choose her career. And when once she chose her career, where were the sisters? Were they anywhere around? Not really. Not really. They were mad at her all these years for choosing family over career. But when she finally did have a career, were they anywhere around to support her? Not really. Not really. Kevin Sr. tells the story of at one point in time, Tracy said, I can't leave my family behind for this musical career. So Kevin Sr. tells a story that at one time, Tracy and Kevin Sr. moved to Georgia, because that's where Tony is, to maybe join the family business with singing. They uprooted their lives. They moved all the way down to Georgia. They said, hey, Tracy said, well, Kevin Sr. is the breadwinner in the house. He's got a job, several jobs. How are we going to move to Georgia? We're not going to have no money. They said, no problem, Tracy. We're going to set you up with a house. The house is going to be gifted to you. Move on down to Georgia. Bring the family. Bring the baby. Bring everything. They get down there, and guess what happens? It don't pan out. It doesn't pan out. No job for Kevin Sr. Then guess what happens? Kevin Sr.'s got to go back to Maryland to get work, get a job to provide, to make some money. Tracy's in Georgia. The sisters then leave and go off on the road with Tony to go singing. Tracy's now at home in Georgia, probably with Kevin Jr., the baby, because Kevin Sr. went back to Maryland to find work. I think this is around the time the infidelity happened. I think this is around the time that Kevin Sr. had a bit of infidelity. He uprooted his life. He went to Georgia in hopes for a house and a career down there. And guess what happened? It didn't work out. It didn't work out. There's probably a lot of fussing and fighting going on. And guess what ended up happening once again? The sisters want to now go on tour with Tony, run the world. Tracy has another dilemma. She got a young child. She's living in Georgia. She's fighting with her husband. She's dealing with maybe some infidelity going on with her husband, or one occasion. The husband's got to go back to Maryland to get work. Now Tracy's alone in Georgia with Kevin Jr. The sisters are saying, we're going on the road with Tony, Tracy. What are you going to do? Once again, Tracy's got another decision to make. What do you do, Tracy? What do you do with your child? You can ship him back home to Maryland so Kevin Sr. can raise the child like all our husbands are doing, and you can come on the road with us. Or you can stay here in Georgia by yourself with your son. What does Tracy do? Stay in Georgia all by herself with her son? Once again, she chose family. Sisters look at her again and say, every time we tell you to choose us, Tracy, you don't choose us. You choose your family. Tracy eventually, she did her some get back, cheating revenge. That's what he said. Tracy admitted it on that boot camp show. She said, yeah, I did it. I got back. I got revenge sex back on him. But guess what? They made up. They repaired their marriage. They patched their marriage. Tracy was back in Maryland raising her son. Once again, the sisters is hotter than fish grease. The sisters say, listen, when a man cheats on you, he becomes enemy number one, Tracy. You're not supposed to go back and love him again. You're not supposed to get back with them. They carrying all the hurt and the pain from when their father cheated on their mother. You know how much trauma it is for these Braxton sisters when they hear about infidelity? It invokes all that pain from when they were a child, when that father cheated on that mother from the very beginning. And what they always think is that the mother is always right. The woman is always right. The woman can do no wrong because that's how they was raised. They still can't see no wrong that mother did in that marriage. We know that Mr. Braxton did a lot of wrong, but what they're not willing to look at is what wrong did Miss Evelyn do? That's not how these girls operate. They're good at looking at everybody else's wrong, but they're not good at looking at their own wrong. And I bet what happened when Tracy had that infidelity incident with Kevin Sr., Tracy probably took some accountability in that. She probably said, you know what? I was also not neglectful of my husband. Yeah, he cheated on me, but I also got to say some of the things I did wrong. Here I was about to try to chase fame with y'all on the road. My husband's at home all by himself. We going to be gone for months on end. And the question could come up with Kevin Sr. to say, well, what you expect me to do? I just sit over here and jack off for 3-4 months. It's a tough life when you leave a partner behind and you on the road. So I'm not saying it absolves any man from cheating, but it could be one of the contributors to it. And so no one's telling anybody to accept blame for it. But what the Braxton sisters don't do is they don't accept no responsibility. They say, so what if I'm on the road for 2, 3, 4 months at a time? You supposed to just sit over there and jack off the whole time. So what? They don't accept no responsibility. Tracy probably accepted some responsibility that not only was the marriage strange so she could see how it happened, she could also say that, you know what, I did it as well. But the Braxton sisters wouldn't accept that excuse from Tracy. The Braxton sisters wouldn't accept Tracy taking any accountability in her marriage for anything that might have gone wrong, because what the Braxton sisters do is they blame everyone else. They don't take no accountability. So once again, here we have Tracy once again different from the sisters. We have Tracy who took some accountability, and we have the Braxton sisters who don't take none and they blame all the men. Tracy was of a different spirit than these sisters, and these sisters didn't like it. And as a result, Tracy did become the outcast in his family. She became over there, just like she said. She became like she felt like a cousin. Because one thing about these Braxton sisters, they say, you either with us or you're not. You can't be with us if you don't agree with everything we're doing. You got to be with us 100%. And they punish you. They punish you when you don't have a complete allegiance to the family. Look at Tony over here still screaming and yelling and crying over the fact that she don't even really feel like she got her own life. She can't even really make no decisions for herself. You can't, because his family demands allegiance. And I'm telling you, where does this come from? It comes from that mother. That mother required it of her daughters from the very beginning. You have complete allegiance to me. You are not to go over here and canoodle with the ops. And the ops was that daddy. And Tracy was canoodling with the ops. That's another problem. Now, when it comes to everything that happened after Tracy's death or right around the time she was sick, Kevin Sr. says that the mother came out, they got a condo nearby. So maybe for the last 2 months of Tracy's life, I think the mother came out, he said, at the same time they stormed the Capitol, which we know is a time marker. That was January 6th. Tracy died in March. So from January to March, the family got a condo in the town, and they both rotated in and out of the town to be with Tracy. Tawanda must have come down at some time. They all went back. They didn't stay there the whole time. Maybe the mother stayed the whole time. I'm not for sure. Vaughn came sometimes with Trina. Trina came. But he didn't really say too much if Tamar came. Remember, Tamar is the one saying she didn't know until the last 2 weeks. But now we figure out, how could Tamar not know when the family had a whole condo down there? Tamar wasn't involved for talking to the family, and they didn't call her to let her know. That's why Tamar didn't know, because Tamar was estranged from the family. She wasn't calling or talking to no one. By the time she finally did talk to someone, it was only probably 2 weeks left in Tracy's life. That's the 2 weeks. But the reason Tamar didn't know was because Tamar wasn't involved in the family. That got cleared up for me. That got cleared up because they had a whole condo in Maryland since January. Tracy didn't die to March. So here this family is coming back and forth since January to be by Tracy's side. And Tamar is saying she only found out in the last 2 weeks. So you didn't know where none of your sisters were. Because if you had been in touch with your sisters, you would have known that they was coming down to Maryland, that they had a condo down there. But you weren't in touch with none of your family. No one at all. That's on Tamar. That is on Tamar. But Kevin Sr. said the hate continued. The hate continued. Kevin Sr. told a story that one of his sisters had given him a gift card for a pedicure and a manicure because she wanted to love on him in this time when his wife was dying and he was a caretaker. Let me tell you something. As I told y'all in previous videos, I've been a caretaker. I was a caretaker of my father. I was also a caretaker of my husband through his bout with cancer. And let me tell you, it is draining on the caretakers. One thing I learned from that experience is that there's a lot of people checking on the person who's ill, as it should be. They got nurses. They got 5 and 6 doctors. Okay. All different types of doctors. They got in-home health care. They got a lot of people checking on them. They got people to help them with counseling. But you know who sometimes doesn't have anyone checking in on them? The caretaker. And now what I do is when I find out someone's sick, I not only check on the person that's sick, I check on the caretaker, because I was once a caretaker, and I'm telling you the way it feels. You get drained. You get drained, and you say to yourself, you start to feel guilty for even being tired, because you look at your person you're caring for and you say, why should I be tired? They're the ones going through cancer. But you know what? The caretaker needs love. They need support. They need someone to care on them. And so I could understand why that sister or whoever gave Kevin Sr. that gift card to get a pedicure and a manicure. I understand it. And what he did was he got a pedicure and a manicure in his house. They came and did it in the house. He didn't even go to a nail salon. And what did the family do to Kevin Sr.? They bashed him, said, look at him. He down there getting a pedicure and manicure while his wife is up here dying. Come on, y'all. This 25 years of hate right here. This ain't about no petty and no manny. This 25 years of hate. This is 25 years of hate. And what Kevin Sr. said was he had to continue working. He didn't have the luxury of not working and being at home all 24 hours with his wife while she was going through cancer. He couldn't take off 3 months from work. I can understand. Kevin Sr. That's what it looks like. We still got to work our regular jobs. We still got to go home and care for the sick. We doing double duty. The sisters came out. They spent time. And all the time when they were there, when Kevin Sr. was gone, this is when they so-called said they learned about Tracy's wishes. That differs from the will. Well, guess what? She had a will. If she wanted to change her will, she should have changed her will. Because at this point in time, when you're coming to talk to Tracy, when she's all drugged up and she's in the last days of her life, and you're talking about what she wanted in the last month of her life, yet she has a will that says something completely different, but you want everyone to go off what she said the last week of her life versus what her whole will says? Nah. In fact, let me tell you something. If she had a trust, which is what she probably should have had, the executor of the trust would have had to follow what was in the trust. It wouldn't have mattered what she said in the last day of her life, the last week of her life. If you are the administrator of a trust, you have to go what's gone on in the trust. That's what you have to go off in. You can't go off what someone said the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks of their life. That's why a lot of people can contest a will that was done when someone's terminally ill in the last month of their life, because what everyone knows is sometimes you're not thinking clearly. You got to go off the will. You got to go off of the trust, because this is what was done when you are in sound mind. So if you're the executor over Tracy's estate, it don't matter what she said the last 2 weeks of her life. You got to go over what's in the will and what's in the trust. That's why that lawyer couldn't stop nothing that Kevin Sr. was doing. He couldn't stop it. You know why he couldn't stop it? Because Kevin Sr. wasn't outside of what was in the will. He wasn't outside of it. He was following it. Because let me tell you, if he was doing anything outside of what was in the will, the attorney, Kevin Jr., who was ever over her estate, could have stopped him. They could have stopped him. Because the will is her voice. The will is what carries forth her wishes. And if he was operating outside of her wishes, according to the will or any trust, they could have stopped Kevin Sr., but they couldn't stop Kevin Sr. because Kevin Sr. was not outside of the will. And that's what the sisters knew. So what they did was they created this story narrative to me and you, that Kevin Sr. is not following the will. But then we saw the will and realized, well, he is following the will. So now we say, well, why are you so mad he followed the will? They're mad because this is 25 years of hate. Like I said, it has nothing to do with the way you tying your shoes here today. It has everything to do with, I didn't like you from the day you met my sister, and I didn't like the fact that my sister chose you and your child continuously over her choosing us, the Braxtons, this family. And I haven't liked you from day one, and I still don't like you even after Tracy's dead. That's the real story, in my opinion. For all of you who tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, in my opinion. So now these sisters over here are using Kevin Jr. for a storyline. And Senior did, you know what? He verified what we always knew. These girls were not close with Kevin Jr. Why would they be? Kevin Jr. was one of the reasons why Tracy couldn't go on the road with them. He said that they were in the life of Kevin Jr.'s life, 20% of the time at that. Not very much at all. Now all of a sudden they're running to Kevin Jr. for what? So they can get the rights to Tracy's life, and they can do this show and use her image and her likeness. That's why they're here. That's why they're here. Using Kevin Jr. and then putting up all these horrible moments in Tracy's life, family's life on the TV show. Like I said, this is a get back show. This is a get back show. Kevin Sr. gave an update with him and Kevin Jr. said they are talking. In fact, after the interview, he was going to go see Kevin Jr. They're repairing their relationship. And he's hoping that in due time, Kevin Jr. realizes he's being manipulated. He's being used. But he's got to learn it on his own. He got a lot on his plate, Kevin Jr. does. A divorce. He's dealing with seizures. He's dealing with health issues. He's dealing with the grief of the loss of his mother. He's dealing with having to grow up. He's dealing with the mind manipulation of these aunties. He's got a lot to sift through. But it looks like they're repairing their relationship. The father hasn't abandoned his son, and the son needs not abandon his father. Okay? Kevin Jr. better take a page out of Tracy's book. Kevin Jr., look at what your mama did. Anytime there came a decision on who to choose, your mama chose you and your mama chose your daddy. She didn't choose your sisters. You had a moment in time where you could choose your daddy or you could choose these sisters. And Kevin Jr., you chose your aunts. And look where it's gotten you. Nowhere. Nowhere. You better listen to your mama. You better watch what your mama did. You want to honor your mama? You honor your mama by carrying forth her wishes. And her wishes were clear in that will. And her wishes were clear in all the decisions she made in her life. She did not choose these sisters over her family, which is her husband and you. She did not choose them. She chose you and your daddy. So at this moment in time, I know you running around talking about you was born a Braxton, but he married into the family. Well, Tracy was born a Braxton too. But she understood something about marriage. She understood something about her family in which you were going to need a whole nother village to make it in the world. And Tracy made the decision that she wanted a more truer family, which was her husband and the village she brought about. You need to do the same, Kevin Jr. Listen, you made a lot of mistakes in life, Kevin Jr. You've made a lot with your own wife, so far with your own child, your decisions with drinking. You made a lot of bad decisions. And let me tell you, this decision you're making to leave your father and go with your aunts, it's another bad one. You better wake up. You better wake up like your mama woke up and your mama saw what it was, what it really was about. Go back and watch those Braxtons episodes. Maybe now at this grown age, you'll see it with a new fresh set of eyes. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch it. Kevin Sr. said he was going to be on the show at first too. His name was on the contract. And at the last minute, guess what the sisters did? Once again, they said, nope, Kevin Sr., you can't be no part of this. We icing you out. And they told those producers, if you let Kevin Sr. on the show, then we will protest and we won't be on the show. Once again, these sisters put their foot down and said, it's about the Braxton sisters. It ain't about nobody else. It's about the Braxton sisters and no one else. And they said, nope, Kevin Sr. is not allowed on this show. It all makes sense now, y'all. It all makes sense. To me, it makes sense. It may not make sense to some of y'all, but it makes sense to me. Kevin Jr., you better watch everything that's going on. You better watch and you better listen. And you better make a better decision because the decision you've made thus far ain't been a good one. Not a good one at all. But that's it, y'all. Let me know what you think down in the comments and I will talk to you later. Bye.